here is a completed E36 model. Timer, there's the servo motor, here's the motor, propeller, folder, and something I should point out to you is it's hard to, at least for me, to remember where the switch positions are for what times. I mean, yes, I know that 0 and 0 are 3 seconds and 1.3 seconds, but once I get off of that, I forgot. This is a time chart that we sell that goes with our timer, and it tells you what switch settings are for motor and DT and what resulting times that's going to give you. Very convenient little sticker to have on your pylon or any place that's visible. You might notice that this thing is blinking. That means I have connected the battery already. So this thing is sort of ready to go, so I'm going to be careful. Now, I mentioned a wheel, and that's what you see here. I put this is a plywood disc that's mounted on that servo shaft instead of that arm. And it makes it extremely nice for the DT. Because here the little DT wire just rests right underneath that servo. There's virtually no drag on the servo, and so that servo motor will never run out. And besides that, look at here. This is a force reducer. Some people call it a mousetrap. A little short shaft here going back to the tail, and the ring that fits over there, and then the arm just goes underneath the servo disc. So this makes for a nice clean setup. What's this? Why don't I see that blue board? Because also this is part of my installation kit, and it's a plywood cover that just fits over the electronics. Why? To keep your fingers off of the electronic board, and also to help in keeping, if it's a little bit of a misty rain or something, we do not want any water on this electronics. Any more so than you would pour water on your cell phone. You don't want water on this circuit board, because that can cause this thing to go bonkers and bananas. And that's true of all brands. It's not just my brand. Any timer, any electronics, you need to keep water off of it. All right, now let me just rotate it here. This is where I haven't put the hatch cover on here. This is where everything is located. Here's the motor, the wires to the motor, the ESC is in here. Here's the battery is tucked in here. And you have to decide where you're going to put everything based on your CG and what room and what airplane you're building. Also, let me do point out, this is one of the motors I talked about. It's a motor that I sell called the Texas Redmax. And it is mounted, it's got a little adapter to match up to the back, to 4 screw holes in the back of the motor. And then that goes in this little ring mount here. With 3 screws to hold the motor. Makes it very easy to adjust your thrust line should you have to adjust it later on. You'll notice there's a fair amount of down thrust, but that's because that's what the kit manufacturer said. He wants down thrust in this motor. Now I've put the hatch cover on. This is a little cover that just covers up all the wires and stuff, and I like this because it's so easy to remove the hatch just by swinging this little arm. This hatch will come loose. And so I have easy and quick access to everything that's inside. Now, you say, hey, Mr. Timer Guy, what's this thing dangling out? I don't want that dangling out on my airplane. No, you wouldn't fly this way. I'm just showing this. This happens to be the receiver for the RDT. This is the Texas Timers RDT system. This is the receiver, less the shrink wrap that normally goes over it for protection purposes. This would normally be mounted inside your fuselage with the antenna sticking out. But we're just going to leave it dangle here in the wind so that I can demonstrate the RDT to you. Now, everything is set for a test flight. That means the motor is set for a 3-second motor run, and the DT is set for 1.3 seconds after the motor stops. That's not usual for DT. Normally your DT is timed from when you actually launch. But for testing purposes, we reference the DT time to when the motor stops. That's just for testing purposes only. And I'm also going to notice 2 other things here. When I start this motor, this is a folder on here. And if those propellers happen to be back like this and you start the motor, suddenly the propellers are going to start whapping against your fuselage. You don't want that. So when you're starting a folder, you point the propeller down just to get the blades out of here. So arm it, rapid flash, push and hold for 2 seconds, and launch. There we go. This time I'm going to demonstrate the function of the RDT. And for purposes of this demonstration, I have readjusted the motor to run for 6 seconds and for the DT to be for 15 seconds. So I'm going to be able to demonstrate several ways you can use the RDT. Once again, this is the Texas Timers RDT system, brand new on the market. All right. First, I will start the motor as normal, and when I'm going to hold this button up, and this button right here, it says DT, and when I push the button, you should see the motor stop instantaneously, and the servo will activate, and the stabilizer will pop up 1.3 seconds later. So here we go. Push! Okay. That shows how you save your airplane if something goes horribly wrong in the power phase. Now we're going to show how it DTs after the motor has stopped. For purposes of this demonstration, I have readjusted the motor to be for only 3 seconds and for the DT to be still 15 seconds. So I'm going to just because I don't want the motor running for a long time while we're sitting here watching it. So I'm not going to stop the motor with the RDT. The motor will stop with the timer at 3 seconds, and then while we're in the glide, I'll tell you when I push the button for DT. So I'm going to arm the timer, tip the nose down to start the motor. Okay, now we're in glide, and let's say, oh, it's going into the trees. Bang. I didn't tell you, but as soon as I said it's going into the trees, I pushed the button and DT happened. That's the advantage of RDT. And as I said, the big difference between the Texas Timers RDT and some of the others that are available is my DT, if the motor is running, my DT is automatic. You don't have to push the button a second time during that critical phase when the plane is heading straight for the ground. So it's a big safety feature in my opinion and also the designer's opinion. So thank you very much for staying with me. I hope you have gained something from these videos, and of course if you have any questions at any time, the timer guy, that's me, is available at all times to answer any questions. You know, I can answer. I sell all these items. I sell the servos, I sell the speed controllers, I sell the batteries, and I also put all the connectors on for you. If you do not want to get involved in the soldering, particularly at the early phases of your engagement in this hobby, I will put all the connectors on for you. It's a very nominal cost, so when you get it, it is ready to go. You don't even have to own a soldering iron. Everything is pre-soldered, pre-tested, shrink tubing to protect the shorts. As I said, again, it is ready to go as you get it from me. And that's just called my plug and fly. It's sort of my terminology. But anyway, thank you again for taking the time to watch. And again, if you have any questions, email me at txtimer@tn.net or call me on the phone at area code 423-282-6423. I'm happy to talk to any of you at any time about any problems or questions that you may have. Again, thank you very much and appreciate it. Having a good time flying electric free flight.